have a rendezvous with death. We'll preserve the last best hope of man on Earth, or we'll sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness.
No fear. No political correctness. No wokeism. You're listening to Underground USA.
Thanks for downloading, listening, and sharing. My name is Frank Salvato, and you can find everything we do at undergroundusa.com. The heads of the far left and usual suspect media outlets are exploding all over the world at Donald Trump's recent statements about Canada and Greenland, and maybe a bit less so about the Panama Canal. But those who are so alarmed fail to understand the art of the deal type thinking being employed here. Recently, Trump extended his holiday wishes to Governor Justin Trudeau of Canada. Of course, Trudeau is the Prime Minister of Canada. In his holiday message, Trump pointed out that Canadian citizens' taxes are far too high. In mentioning that fact, he playfully said, "But if Canada were to become our 51st state, their taxes would be cut by more than 60%. Their businesses would immediately double in size, and they would be militarily protected like no other country anywhere in the world." In a separate statement, he went on to say that he had just met with hockey legend Wayne Gretzky and suggested that he run for Prime Minister of Canada, alluding to Gretzky in saying he would soon be the Governor of Canada. Trump also extended his holiday cheer to the people of Greenland, who he said is needed by the United States for national security purposes and who want the U.S. to be there, and we will. And he didn't forget his favorite target, Communist China, to which he said, "Merry Christmas to all, including the wonderful soldiers of China who are lovingly but illegally operating the Panama Canal, where we lost 38,000 people in its building 110 years ago. Always making certain that the United States puts in billions of dollars in repair money, but we have absolutely nothing to say about anything." Of course, Trump's words towards the Communist Chinese came after he addressed the issue of excessive shipping fees assessed by the Panamanian Port Authority operating the Panama Canal. Reliable reports indicate that Chinese nationals, most likely PLA soldiers, operate the canal daily. Trump proposed that if Panama did nothing to stop ripping off the U.S. by charging obscene fees for using the canal, built and owned by the United States until Jimmy Carter gave it away, the United States would retake it. Can't you hear the exploding of the heads of the usual suspects in the mainstream media and on the radical left? In typical knee-jerk fashion, those who feel anyone actually cares whether or not they get in front of a microphone immediately did so. Mute B. Igedi, and I know I'm butchering that name, so I'm just going to call him Egads. Mute B. Egads, Greenland's Prime Minister, who obviously takes things way too seriously, stated, "Greenland is ours. We're not for sale, and we never will be for sale. We must not lose our long struggle for freedom. Greenland is not for sale." And Jose Raul Mulino, president of Panama, who equally lacks any sense of jocularity, stated,
Blah, 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 blah.
"Panama's independence is non-negotiable. The canal and surrounding area belong to our country and will remain so." And Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, who many believe to be the illegitimate son of Fidel Castro, raced to the microphones and cameras and declared, "This is not a laughing matter. Threatening tariffs and then joking about annexation shows a lack of understanding of our sovereignty and the respect due between allies A." He didn't say A, I added that because, well, he's Canadian. To borrow a phrase from Sergeant Hulka in the movie Stripes, to apply to each of these pearl-clutching Karens, take it easy, Francis. To cite another age-old adage, albeit to apply it in reverse, and anyone with the intellect larger than that of a figgy pudding understands this. What Trump is doing here is implementing a strategy where he's asking for much more than he expects to get, settling for less but still achieving the actual goal. So let's look at what Mr. Trump did and how egads Molino and Castro, Trudeau, were played. In the aftermath of Trump's statement about Greenland, which is a nation in the Kingdom of Denmark, Denmark's government announced a significant increase in defense spending aimed at strengthening Greenland's defense capabilities. This included a package worth at least $1.5 billion for new inspection ships, drones, dog sled teams, and upgrades to civilian airports to handle military aircraft. Trump threatened annexation and received a bolstered native defense of Greenland that would help protect the United States and the free world. Cost to the United States, $0. In Canada, Trump not only kept the issue of high taxes front and center for the Canadian people, but throttled up the pressure on the Trudeau administration, currently under attack and facing a vote of no confidence that would end Trudeau's term as Prime Minister. That pressure also aids the budding conservative movement in Canada at the national level. So Trump talks about Canada being annexed as the 51st state and helped advance a more fiscally responsible and conservative government in Canada while taking out one of Klaus Schwab's World Economic Forum golden boys. And in Panama, Trump put a spotlight on the continued aggression and expansion of the Communist Chinese in the Western Hemisphere, refocusing attention on the still relevant Kennedy Doctrine, born of the Monroe Doctrine, which is being violated under the guise of Communist China's membership in the World Trade Organization. Trump brings up Communist Chinese activity and high fees at the Panama Canal, and the world has to address Communist Chinese imperialism and expansion, even as the far left has to admit they're in bed with imperialists and colonizers. Oh, the hypocrisy. Trump threatened to take a mile, and the knee-jerkers surrendered their inches. And as I said before, anybody with an intellectual capacity over that of a rusted bolt understands what Trump was doing with his statements. Evidently, those with access to the microphones and cameras, and many with places in the halls of power, possess the intelligence and critical thinking skills of inanimate objects, of rusty bolts in rancid cups of figgy pudding. To that, I see that maybe a good New Year's resolution would be to expunge these idiots from the halls of influence and power and start paying heed to and electing those who employ critical thinking skills and common sense. And as the far left's Grinch drove out of sight, all the little shuddering Karens and globalist ne'er-do-wells heard him say, "Happy Christmas to all, and to all a huge night." If you like the podcast, please head on over to undergroundusa.com and sign up for our Substack. Come straight to your email inbox, circumventing the censors and the fact-checkers of social media who are nothing more than censors. And as we waltz on down to New Year's Eve, let's remember to talk politics, religion, and current events with our family, friends, colleagues, and acquaintances. Do it respectfully, listen as much as you speak, and be kind in your conversations. When we have these talks with each other, we understand we've got more in common than we do in difference, and that actually helps us rise above the divisiveness of the deep state that wants to subjugate us into factions. You're listening to Underground USA. No fear, no wokeism, no political correctness. My name is Frank Salvato.